Hi everyone, I'm Archanna Das, Head Ascent Foundation. For all of those who are unaware of what the foundation does, it's been founded by Harsh Mariwala, Chairman Marico Limited in the year 2012. It is his personal passion to identify and enable high potential growth stage entrepreneurs in their journey to grow both as entrepreneurs and their enterprises. We create a close knit of groups called trust groups of non-competing entrepreneurs and with complete diverse businesses who believe in learning from doers. Designed as a peer-to-peer platform, Ascent leverages the power of collective and enables entrepreneurs to share experiences, ideas, insights, and learn from each other in a safe, confidential, and non-judgmental space, and work with each other and learn from each other. In the last 9 years, Ascent has selected over 750 entrepreneurs as members who are part of 64 such operational trust groups based out of Mumbai, Chennai, and All India chapters. Today, with me, I am extremely proud to announce three dynamic and amazing women entrepreneurs from the Ascent cohort and have been invited to be speakers on this panel session on Tech to Impact. Our first speaker today is Gauri Devidayal, partner Food Matters India Private Limited. Gauri is a hospitality professional and has been an Ascent member for almost 4 to 5 years now. Welcome, Gauri.
Hi.
We also have Bhavika Shah, founder Beyond Design, who's a branding and design, who runs a branding and design studio with only female employees and also has been an Ascent member for almost 4 years. Welcome, Bhavika. Our third speaker, Dr. Rasika Birewar, co-founder Ausra Health. She's been an entrepreneur in the healthcare space for almost 20 years and an Ascent member for 4 years now. Welcome, Rasika. Welcome, all of you ladies. And it's a pleasure to moderate this session today for SheThePeople.
Thank
Thank you, Archana.
Okay, so since the pandemic has hit the world, most industries saw an accelerated growth in tech, which would have typically taken a lot more years. Digital transformation is now affecting every business sector, traditional or new age. It involves everyone in every industry and every aspect of our life. It is clear to us that digital transformation is underway and it will change how we work and how we are going to live. Technology that once was cutting edge becomes obsolete as new ideas enter the space. And 2019 was this big year in the high tech world, and 2020 seems to be the year where business cannot work without technology anymore. My question to each one of you, and you can answer this: at what would you say about the rapid pace of evolution happening this year vis-a-vis 10 years? Because you've been in business for almost that many years. So what seems to be that evolution? Can we start with you, Bhavika?
Sure. Thank you, Archana, for the introduction. And very true, it has been a year that has changed everything, the way we work, the way we think, across generations. We were forced into embracing tech, and this was something that we didn't think was ever going to happen. We always believed in physical office, physical meetings, especially in Bombay. Traveling took up most of our day. A lot has changed. Every meeting has moved online. Teams have moved online. Tech has taken over. I have had 80-year-olds come into meetings. We've had boardroom meetings online. Startups have grown so much faster purely because meetings happened a lot quicker. And we as a team, in fact, are still considering whether we'll ever go back to a physical office. So huge change there too. We doubled our team only because space was not a constraint, work was not a constraint, communication became easier. A lot of platforms for discussions came into being. So that's where we are at with embracing tech too.
So when you say you doubled the employees, does that also mean that you're hiring from other cities and towns because physical presence is not required in office anymore? So is there
Absolutely.
talent that you're looking?
Absolutely, and other countries. And being an all women's team, it's great opportunity for people who cannot leave their homes, come from smaller suburban towns, and
Right.
still work. We have the leeway of working at your time and convenience as a company. We've taken that step, so they can take time off in the afternoon if they needed to cook or take care of the children and get back to work. And I mean, it's worked phenomenally well for me, as much as people say that it's not worked for them too, but it's
Right.
worked very well for me. And we have people across the world now. In fact, we have one Italian designer, someone in the UK. So that's where we're at.
Nice. Nice. So you can look for talent anywhere now. Okay.
Absolutely.
Gauri?
Um, Thank you, first of all, for the kind introduction. And, Archana, I'm in the hospitality industry, which is, of course, traditionally a people driven business. It's about interacting with people and, enjoying food in person. And when we started out 10 years ago, honestly, we were not even on social media. We were taking reservations by, there were handwritten reservations. I still have those old books that we have. And today, fast forward 10 years, I mean, of course, the last 18 months has been a sort of, that treble or quadruple speed of fast forward for tech development. But we, have had to embrace it in a way without compromising the experience, the in-person experience. And what's amazing is the number of tools out there to make operations more efficient. Of course, marketing has moved to a digital format from the traditional sort of word of mouth or just print media. Even something like in one of our brands, we do a lot of cooking workshops, which of course were all hands-on, in person, in the kitchen. And during the pandemic, we moved that to an online format, which like Bhavika mentioned about being able to reach a wider audience. Not only did we reach people around the world to participate, but we also had access to chefs around the world to be able to teach. And so tech has been a game changer in oh so many ways. And I think it's really about, it doesn't matter which industry you're in today, you have to embrace it and you have to make use of it to to move ahead.
Nice. Dr. Rasika?
Thank you, Archana. Undoubtedly, the COVID 19 pandemic is one of the greatest challenges that we've faced in modern history. And essentially, all of this was in, different building blocks across last 10 years. So all these pieces came together with great speed. And that's how, we've been, all of us have been resilient, have innovated. But I think in healthcare, it has had the most magnified change. Healthcare is almost never going to be the same. Pre-COVID and post-COVID healthcare are two different formats of healthcare. So this necessity spurred huge decision making, huge action, and at every level, in terms of whether it was, incorporation of these technologies, digital technologies, in public, private domains, whether it was in population surveillance, contact tracing. I think this has been used. The technology has been used in the past 1.5 year everywhere. So it's become a new way in which healthcare service delivery now will be given. And whether we go back to those formats that were available to us still remains in question, because I think the comfort of the last one, I mean, although there have been challenges, but the comfort of working from home, comfort of actually getting things done much at a much faster speed has really evolved evolved all of us. And I guess that that's what I see as way to go for all of us.
Right. Even at Ascent, right, we were all into face-to-face meetings because that's what trust groups were about, like vibing off each other. At Ascent, also, being a foundation, we had to evolve and change our guidelines, and not depend on physical interaction anymore for these trust group meetings, and virtual formats were introduced, and structures of the peer support groups were changed to make this happen. I wanted to ask you, Bhavika, in terms of the India being the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, we are expected to witness a year-on-year growth of a consistent growth of 12 to 15%. And India has about 50,000 such startups in India since 2018. I wanted to know from you, what is your take on Indian startups and leveraging tech for making a positive impact on the society and the environment? If there's something that you can add from there.
So, in my opinion, startups today are definitely leveraging tech platforms to empower the last man, right? We are providing choice to an end consumer because accessibility has increased so much. We're providing choice, we're providing very quick options. And simple example would be mobile phones over landlines. We've had 680 million 4G connections that have happened in 2020 itself, which tells us a story about how much people have started accessing apps across the country now. It's enabling every startup to reach much larger audiences. So initially, it would take a lot longer for a startup to launch, and only the giants would sort of be able to reach. The corporations were the only ones who would reach the audiences quicker,
Right.
with advertising budgets and a lot of money being pumped in. And today, a startup with social media, with apps, with tech is able to reach um, different audiences, in my opinion. Carbon footprint reduction when it comes to overall, reaching people in a much faster way. I only wish packaging will get a lot more sustainable a lot sooner, and that's
Right.
something I see most people working on. So hopefully that's on its way.
Right.
Um, yeah, that's democratizing information and accessibility to a
Right.
much larger audience. So that's basically where startups, tech platforms have taken startups today, in my opinion.
Right. Thank you. Gauri, you mentioned that traditionally the restaurant industry, like you said, was not tech savvy and taking reservations on paper and stuff like that. It's been very challenging, definitely for you. But what are some of the innovations that you have implemented, through this time, and how has it also impacted the overall customer experience?
So, Archana, it's not that we've suddenly become masters of tech, as hospitality professionals. I think what's happened is that there's been a vast array of tools that have been made available now to the hospitality industry. And a couple of them are, of course, to, like I said earlier, to become more efficient, to deal with, COVID safety norms. So, for example, in our restaurants, when we were able to reopen last year, most restaurants shifted to a digital menu format. So, you'd have a barcode scanner at the table, and, you would access the menu that way, as opposed to, printed menus. And of course, what happened last year was that when restaurants were closed, most F&B businesses moved to a delivery format. And I think that's where the greatest shift in tech happened for the F&B industry. So we were highly dependent on third party aggregators. We've all used them to order food in, and this is when traditionally a restaurant business, delivery is sort of a small part of that of your revenue stream. If you're primarily a restaurant business, when COVID happened and essentially the entire business and the entire revenue stream started coming from delivery, our industry started looking at costs very closely. And that's when we were all forced to look at our own delivery platforms being sort of tech enabled, and not just someone having to call up and place orders, but placing orders online, payment gateways, being able to track riders, everything that the aggregators do. Now the restaurants had to be able to do in-house, and that, I think, was the biggest sort of shift that happened for the F&B industry. It wasn't about innovation, because we were using tools that had been developed at a super rapid pace, recognizing the need of the hour. So
Right.
there were a lot of white label products that came out, and the industry was able to adopt those very quickly. I would say the second thing, and again to sort of add to what Bhavika said earlier, there was a really quick shift towards developing apps for F&B groups. So, for example, we have a bakery brand, and we look very closely and are sort of working actively towards developing an app for that, because now people spend all their time, on the phone. Everything's shifted to ordering, even your sort of daily staples, not just, your lunch and dinner.
Right. Right.
So I think that we really need to learn to embrace it better. And I will add one thing. I mean, of course, we've talked about it a lot from an operation standpoint, but I will say that even from a marketing standpoint, there's with the number of hours people are spending on their phones, you'd be a fool not to be spending more on your sort of digital marketing. And I don't just mean, sort of posting more on Instagram, but just the way that again, the tools that are available to up the ante on your marketing. For example, and even podcasts, we've used that really effectively for our brands, because audio has become such a big thing. So the fact is that, there's such an array of tools available to industries, and it's really about how quickly you adapt and think beyond your immediate requirement as to how you can use it effectively for your business.
But what about customer experience? We love going into a restaurant and having that whole vibe there. Now, how's that impacted, do you think?
So we still don't want people to be on their phones throughout the meal, and of course, I think it's about finding a balance between meeting customer sort of safety expectations, and still having that sort of wonderful in-person experience that we that restaurants are known for. So I think it's about making sure that you do absolutely what's necessary to be done. But for example, when we reopened last year, because we moved to an online reservation format, and an email confirmation would go out to our guests of their reservation, we sent a small document with that, which set out all the sort of COVID safety norms we were following. And so we kind of tried to give people a heads up before they came to the restaurant, so that when they come to the restaurant, they're already kind of, they're sort of not stressed out about being around other people. And, they already have a sort of, they know what to expect. And, at the same time, we still want that, people engagement to happen between our team and guests. So it's not like, we've moved to a complete non-interface kind of non-people interface experience. And so, yeah, like I said, I think it's really about finding that balance, and more than that, it's also about being really honest and authentic in our communication with people. So even on social media, we really used it to tell people, for example, with delivery, how we were packaging, what hygiene sort of precautions we were taking in the kitchen, and sharing that sort of, giving them a look into the kitchen, and how clean it is, and that people are masked, and things like that. So when you have these tools at your disposal, to not use it is just is really not the is not the best thing to do. So it really is about engaging and just being as honest and authentic as possible with your customers, and I think that's what works.
Right. With the transparent being going into the kitchen of the restaurant, also never done that, but we should take that off for us. Okay, moving to Rasika. Dr. Rasika, healthcare has seen the most innovative ideas coming during these times, and it's the booming industry at this point of time. It will be for going for a few years now. Getting accustomed to the lockdown phase, people are now also getting more and more acquainted with the use of tech in healthcare. I mean, my own 70-year-old parents are now getting more tech savvy when it coming to accessing healthcare as well. So let's talk about the technology trends, and where does India stand in terms of adapting these little things like telehealth services, AI in healthcare, automation for contactless patient management, robot doctors. Where is India, according to you, in terms of these innovations?
let me step back a little bit in terms of where is India. So in 2001, actually it was ISRO that developed the telemedicine whole aspect for India, and it was a telemedicine pilot project. Post which, these kind of technologies were only used for primary for e-learning purposes. So that's what I mean. All the medical colleges got connected in 2005, and they were only using it for e-learning because we had no clear policies, we had no legislation related to telemedicine. And there were certain cases where there was some negligence by giving a consult on the telephone, and there was a lot of fear related to telemedicine. But I think Niti Aayog in 2019 created a framework, and I that framework essentially changed the way we would deploy telemedicine in our lives. Globally, yes, I'll just go on to tell you later as to globally what all has been the scenario. But in India, with our modest internet usage, with our with the smart telephones that we have, I think we have really come a long way in 1.5 year. There's a platform which the government has offered, which is known as e-Sanjeevani, and this is a doctor to doctor platform as well as it is a patient to doctor platform. And you won't probably believe it, but there have been about 3 million consultations on this platform only from March to until now. So I mean, that's the way we all, whether it's a rural village, I mean a small village, or whether it's we are in cities like Mumbai, we're all trying to adapt to these kind of modalities, newer changes.
Right.
So that's where we are placed in terms of India per se, in terms of telehealth. Now, obviously, the telehealth model will will be merged with AI, and this is happening in Madhya Pradesh, where what they have done is that they have connected all the primary healthcare centers via a telemedicine to an AI platform, and therefore now we will have a different kind of experiment over here. It's too early for all of us to know what that experiment will evolve into, but essentially patient follow up, patient care, patient engagement, these are essentially pillars of a good healthcare service delivery system, right? These will very well evolve in India. Also, one of the biggest problems that we have in India is the skewed health doctor to patient ratio or nurse to patient ratio. I think to a large extent, digital technologies like telemedicine will mitigate these, practices that will mitigate this situation, because now
Right.
we will have, a lot of connectivity goes down to grassroots level, and that's where we will, evolve as a country, at least where health is concerned.
Sure.
There are a lot of issues at this point because it's so new. This world is so new right now. I mean, in terms of the health technology world, there are issues of data privacy, security,
Right.
protection. But all of that will, I guess, it's just a matter that it will evolve, just the way we have evolved out of this COVID situation. And
Right.
yes, as Gauri mentioned that there have been changes also in the customer perspective. It has become, the whole environment has become very much more transparent, and that's how, I guess it's more of working together, strengthening both these systems. That's how we will evolve as in our healthcare.
Right.
Globally, I think there's a huge change happening, right from whether it is machine learning, whether it is being for example, machine learning being used for epidemiological surveillance, or it is point of care diagnosis, or it is something related to community awareness, community transmission. there's a lot of technology being used at all of these platforms. And in the hospital level, also in clinical care, basically, a lot of technology in terms of teleconferencing, yes, but a lot of doctors coming together and carrying out a surgery also is happening.
Right.
So, yes, if I
You,
were
sorry, you
to,
also mentioned capacity building of people on ground also, which a lot of training is happening through using tech.
yes, absolutely. In fact, way back, right from I think March 2020, all hospitals have been engaging their health workers into an online platform, and in fact, um, it's so amazing that everybody's interest in these online trainings also has increased, because obviously it's way much more comfortable to access knowledge now. And therefore, in terms of a nurse who is there in a very small district hospital also shows her keenness to connect to an online platform and learn. And we've
Right.
seen this. So the adaptability to these newer learning ways also has evolved in a large way.
Yeah, that's very encouraging. Bhavika, question for you. As a organization, you service the corporates as well as startups. I think that's the mix of the clients that you have, and you've spoken about them earlier as well. But some of these enterprises are realizing the potential of these startups, and hence are partnering, and hence a lot of schemes and support systems are coming. Some of them are like a Facebook in partnership with Startup India has dispersed cash grants of $50,000 to the top 5 selected startups. Microsoft has its venture accelerator program for India and have picked up 16 startups. What is your take on these tech giants supporting startups? Is this a strategy for their growth or doing social good, according to you?
I do think it's both to a large extent, but definitely I would take a third angle to this and say that it's a lot about data, right?
Yeah,
Today, every app, I mean, if you look at a Tata app, they are coming out with a super app now where they are having all their consumer facing brands come under one app. So whether it's food or electronics, or it's all going to be under one app. And
consolidated.
absolutely. And then, I mean, companies are acquiring companies. Pharmacy was acquired by Thyrocare in the medical space. So essentially, there's a lot of acquiring happening, a lot of sharing of data across platforms. There's a huge change coming in this space, because essentially these are your gold coins, right? The data with tech becoming the platform everyone's embracing, there's going to be grabbing of these coins and grabbing of wherever we can get maximum data. So the tie-ups are all based on that. So I do think, again, corporation, the giants are coming in. They are tying up with smaller startups across different fields. You see a lot of them investing in skincare, and they never have before. So
Yeah,
earlier they would invest in a certain category, or they'd be known for a certain category, but in skincare, in organic food, in anything that there's potential for health and growth in the future, you do see a lot of investments coming in. And I strongly feel it's because of data collection, and the laws across the world are going to come down very, very strongly on this sooner or later.
right.
So it's a very quick movement at this point, because I also do know of companies that are getting into this space where either the corporation or the individuals will be monetizing their data very quickly. So it's the time for them to come in, work with the startups, acquire startups, collect all the data that's possible, since privacy is going to become a much bigger thing than anything else going forward.
Right. The question to all of you is, as we continue to kind of solve a gender parity in the corporate India through policy changes and all of that, women entrepreneurs have struggled during these pandemic times as well. And I can vouch for that because we probably have only 8 to 10% women entrepreneurs in Ascent representation. And, it's taken a toll on women to work from home and kind of run the business also. According to each one of you, and we'll start with Rasika. Some of the ways that women entrepreneurs can overcome these challenges during these times, and we're looking at kind of taking over the gender disparity there. Rasika.
So, good question. And lot can be spoken about this, but so in terms of, yes, it has been extremely challenging to maintain the work life balance. And but I think that so there have been several challenges. Let me cover that ground, whether it was one was work life balance. The second thing was the entire ecosystem of accessing technology, accessing funds. This was a impossible task for all of us.
Right.
But however, I think, as I think we have been resilient to this whole change and try to incorporate a lot of changes. And I think what needs to be done is that we need to have certain um, programs run by either the government or either private entities that will allow a homing in of women to move into being a comfortable woman entrepreneur. It sounds
Right.
very idealistic, but develop a ecosystem or a platform which Ascent has given us also to some extent,
Right.
but develop priority initiatives for this hand holding activity, wherein it will become a little more comfortable for the woman entrepreneur. So,
Right.
I mean, to really tell you in terms of potentially partnership programs
Right.
that will enhance knowledge, or supporting in day to day running of business, or a kind of recovery program in terms of finance. So something of that sort might help all of us to see an acceleration of women entrepreneurs for the years to come.
Right. Gauri, take from Rasika. You've always talked about collaboration with competition. That's something that you really believe in. But when it comes to women entrepreneurs, how do you think you can connect to the conversation?
So, it's really interesting actually in the last 18 months. So, the restaurant industry has traditionally, even though you always think, oh, women are the cooks at home, it's been men who've sort of thrived in the kitchens at restaurants, right? You always
Right.
hear of male chefs, you hardly hear of
Right.
female head chefs of
Right.
restaurants. What happened in the last 18 months was really interesting because so many women who were at home and whether they sort of had given up or been laid off for whatever reason that they were at home and had spare time, have launched their own home delivery businesses, and some of these have just done exceptionally well in during during the lockdown, and
Right.
it's given people that sort of boost that they didn't have, and they've been able to do it with a smaller investment, obviously being doing it from home and starting on a, and so it's given them this great testing ground to see the response to their product, and now given them that confidence to maybe venture into a more sort of formal restaurant space, or to maybe take it out of the home kitchen into a cloud kitchen. And I've heard so many stories of this happening in during the pandemic that I can see. I can see a short, sort of a small burst happening almost when things open up. And
Right.
what we're looking to do actually, since you mentioned collaboration, is we have this experimental kitchen space, dining space, and we want to kind of give more people that platform to expose their food to people in a dining format. So make
Right.
it, take it out of that delivery format into a dining format and
Right.
see how that translates. So
Right.
I think it's exciting times for women in hospitality.
Right. Great. Bhavika.
The same. We've actually always been an all women's team, so not much changed there. But essentially, I feel women have gotten a lot stronger. we give a lot of women opportunity to work at flexible hours, like I said before, which actually has made a lot of my team members who had quit work come back to work in the last 18 months because they wanted a work-life balance. So they had been with us maybe 10 years ago, gone out there, done other jobs, gotten married, had children, stopped working, and then come back to work, which is actually really rewarding because then you know you're a comfortable workspace, as well as opportunity, as well as women are then empowering themselves to get back to work. So we focused on that all through, and it's been phenomenal on that front. Also, when we go to pitch to clients, the all women's team is a very interesting. I mean, it's great the feedback we get from people on the emotional quotient, on what they're seeing. So we've always had positive feedback on that front too. And yeah, it's been phenomenal with Ascent too, right? Because I'm one woman in a trust group of so many men, or we're two women at the maximum, I think, in any trust group. And when you are projecting and you are bringing things in order, I think women entrepreneurs overall, there's a big spike and there's a big boost of confidence. Also, that they are able to balance work and life, and I think that's something that every woman needs to get comfortable with. So.
Right. No, you bang on the emotional quotient, especially in groups of male-dominated groups sometimes. But yeah, any closing remarks? We are off time. Any closing remarks that each one of you would like to make? Any message for fellow entrepreneurs out there? We'll start with you, Rasika.
I think that this is a new world. Um, Collaboration with your peer, collaboration and technology, resilience. These are the three keywords that I've in my closing talk. So I think that this is the string that we should weave, and all of them, I think all women possess these three qualities, and that's how we see the next decade of complete women power.
Bhavika?
So essentially, I'd just like to say get comfortable with the unknown, keep learning, and you've never learned enough. So be comfortable with change and keep learning. Every day is new.
Gauri?
I would just say that, again, in the last 18 months showed me that you've got literally nothing more to lose in giving it a shot. So do that, and you'll be surprised at what comes out of it.
Right. Thank you so much, ladies, for your great insights. I think adaptability, learning, resilience, some really, really powerful and strong words for us to embrace and, do the tech for impact, do the good. Thank you so much. Thank you